Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which is against one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All are present. Chairman, to read the public comment policy statement. If there is anyone from the public that wants to make a comment to the board, they will need to go over to the table right over there by the door and read the script and then fill out the form to make a public comment. At the end, we will reserve about 30 minutes for public comment, but you will only get 3 minutes to speak on your topic. The board will not respond unless the chair allows it. Okay, any questions with that? Okay, we're welcome to go over and fill out those sheets. Okay, the consent agenda. Discussion on was held by the board and a motion was made and seconded to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay. Introduction to new hires to the board. Is it, Eliza? Eliza? Okay. Is it Corsi?
Yeah.
Okay. And Daniel Stout? Okay. And, John Perez? You're all gonna be at the jail? How's that going? Good?
Second
Good.
day.
What's that?
Second day.
Okay.
Second day.
One day at a time. Well, welcome aboard and congratulations. We really, want to wish you the best and try to give you as much support we can out there and, your willingness to become part of our team. So if there's any time that you, have available on Tuesday mornings at 10 o'clock, you can come back and join us. You know, but
Welcome, you guys.
you know,
Appreciate it.
any questions or for us? Okay. Well, keep up the good work.
Good deal.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
Thank you.
Scott.
Yeah.
Mr. Rubeck or Trish, where does that put you as far as your level of staffing?
We will only need to hire 2 more.
So you're too short. Thank you.
Medical is fully staffed. John fills our last vacancy that means in that area.
Are these positions filled because of retirements?
Number of
This number?
different reasons. Yep. We just had one go to the PB, so.
Sounds a plus.
Following his dad's footsteps.
You heard what happened to us in Des Moines, so we'll work on that. So, okay. Thank you all for what you're gonna do for the citizens of Pot County. Okay, have a great day. Okay, next up, we have the recognition and appreciation of employees for the work they did together to make timekeeping and payroll processing more efficient. For Kayla Redding, Brandy, is it Bernsel? And for Veronica Burson, was that supposed to be for the sheriff's office, not from?
Mhm.
For the sheriff's office. Tina Trinatinos, Secondary Roads, Gina Hatcher and Audrey Chapin, Payroll, and David Byer, IT.
It was,
Should I Same thing. Okay.
It's been well over a year ago when there was a effort undertaken to solve a problem. And the problem was tracking manual hours on a spreadsheet and incorporating it into the payroll system. And when you have staff that work 12-hour shifts, it provides some really unique timekeeping opportunities. And this group of individuals got together and spent considerable time and effort creating a better way to solve this problem. And I know they could all explain it a whole lot better as far as incorporating all of the effort that was included. Tina, Brandy, Raquel, you guys want to take a shot at it? I know John did a good job and I couldn't find the summary this morning. I was looking for it.
For our sheriff's office and 911 division, they had no timekeeping in place. It was all just tracked manually by spreadsheet and paper. So we added all of our 911 and sheriff's employees into our timekeeping system, UKG. And we built all of those profiles from scratch and got all of them set up with timekeeping electronically instead of a manual process. So we eliminated a lot of paper processes that we were doing. All of the leave requests and overtime, all of those types of things are now all done within our timekeeping system instead of on paper. So all of that is done. And we have started just now submitting reports from our timekeeping system for payroll. And
So on a weekly, monthly basis, how much time is that saving you?
a lot. Just yesterday.
Hours.
Hours. Yeah, just yesterday, which is the day I would submit my payroll to the auditor's office, I saved about 4 hours of time yesterday, just yesterday on my payroll, so.
And that's just the time that Raquel is saving, these supervisors and like, when I was brought onto the jail, there were Mondays that I would probably spend 3 hours going through a stack of overtime sheets.
Jim, does it save you a lot of time too?
You work Sundays, huh?
But,
You work Sundays?
if I have to, I will work on a Sunday, but I try to avoid that.
I thought you said yesterday. Well, that's Monday.
Yeah.
Shows you they're all Mondays to me. Okay, I got you.
Yep.
Well, this sounds a little bit like when I was in college, writing papers. I discovered cut and paste, saved a lot of time. Right along those lines.
Well, you had that great big bottle of whiteout too, right?
We started working on this, it was a little over a year ago, wasn't it? About a year and a half ago. Just kept plugging at it, kept making little strides, bigger strides, and then towards the end, it all came together. And it was January, wasn't it, Jenna, when you tried it the last time, the run through? I think, yeah, and then in February, it was all, we had a little lunch and celebrated getting it all done, so. Thanks for all your work, everybody, really appreciate it.
I think it was a great example of just all the departments kind of working together, everybody with different interests and different skills, just kind of making a system and it was good to see that much trust being put into all these people just to do it, because there's really no department heads. Like, I guess David is on the committee, but really just the employees doing it, which is great. So,
Yeah, everybody likes to get paid, don't they, John?
yes.
So can you seven please come forward?
Seven. You guys have a new nickname, the seven.
They're all equal, right?
Not the magnificent eight, the seven.
Well, that's all they
Six or
can,
seven.
I guess.
Hey, seven.
Good. Well, we're gonna give you a coin that's priceless. Congratulations.
Bracelets, you can't.
Don't try to use it as a big.
Heads and tails.
Right around, anywhere you want. Thank you.
That's your don't have to work Sunday free.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tim, where you at with your camera?
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, the best for last.
Yeah.
Not really.
all the work.
Oh, you
IT,
helped a lot, David. Helped me.
IT.
You kept
Thank
all
you
the
very much.
vendors organized and honest.
IT. Okay, let me get behind you there.
Okay.
The rest of you want to stand up? Eighteen.
Trying to get as low as I can.
Good?
All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, lady.
I think this is just a good reminder. Anytime we can work smarter than harder, we ought to explore the opportunities and give everybody a challenge to find an opportunity that we can make better.
And it was challenging at times, wasn't it?
Caitlin, I really appreciate you keeping me in the loop on this and got a couple of questions for you, though. I know one of the things that was part of the discussion was the access to Tyler. Do you have all the access to Tyler that you need?
We don't do access or payroll with Tyler.
That wasn't part of this project, was getting access to Tyler. That. We didn't really talk about it or explore that.
Okay. How about, do the employees have the availability to see where they're at as far as vacation time?
In Cronus, they do, yeah.
Mhm.
In UKG.
Do
they-
all employees have that?
All of ours.
If they're a Chronos user, then yes, they do.
Okay, what's the other system?
You want to talk on that?
Tyler?
ESS? Do we use
Yeah.
ESS?
David does.
Yes.
Do they have access to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually.
Yeah, you don't.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, everybody.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too, thank
Thanks
you.
for all your work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Want to introduce your guest?
Sure.
Tell them where the jail's at.
I got my jail tour on Friday.
Okay.
Not on the
Eye
today.
opening, isn't it?
It was, yes.
Yes.
So Trish and everybody over there did a great job showing me around. But yes, I am fortunate enough to have 3 members of the Duchesne Academy senior class with me today. This is part of their Career Community Connect Day, where they get to select an alum to go shadow for the morning and learn a little bit about some of the different career fields that alums have gone into. They're all getting ready to go off to college in the fall and planning to major in things like political science and advertising and PR and business. So some great conversations already this morning, and then get to see a little bit of county government in action here.
Welcome, ladies. Got any questions for us? Which way is the exit?
Okay.
Which one's going into political science? Good job.
Oh.
That's the usual reaction I get.
Yeah. There's no science to it.
Are you're all seniors this year, is that correct? So you'll be graduating here shortly.
Cool.
Congratulations.
You know where you'll be studying?
I'll be studying at Lincoln.
Where?
Lincoln.
Lincoln.
UNL, Lincoln.
I'm going to University of New Hampshire. University of New Hampshire.
I'm also going to LinkedIn.
And you live in Iowa?
No, I live in Omaha.
Okay,
There's always a possibility.
that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming in,
Yep, thanks.
really.
If you have questions, we'll be around after the meeting if you're still around, so don't hesitate to let us know. Okay. Beth Wilcoxon and Senior Advisor McClure, update on Minden recovery.
Good morning. I also have my colleague Matt Allender here with me. So, hard to believe another quarter has gone by, but we wanted to give you an update on what we've been up to these last few months, thanks to your support as well as that of the Iowa West Foundation and United Way of the Midlands. So I did provide a handout. As you can see, we've had a lot happening. I think last time we were here, we shared that we were in the midst of applying for a community development block grant, disaster recovery from IEDA. We were fortunate enough to be awarded that, just shy of $1.2 million. We have just over $1 million going in from the developers. So Habitat for Humanity of Council Bluffs is working with Cook Construction and Remodeling out of Neola. We really like that partnership. So $2 million project in all, with part of that coming locally. 3 duplexes. They will be affordable housing units. So construction should be starting here in the coming months here. So very excited about that. Those will be built on lots that were purchased with support from the Community Foundation for Western Iowa. So really great illustration of community partnerships and just how they're moving Minden forward. We've also secured $10,000 from Mid-American. They have their Trees Please program. So we'll be planting at Kaler Park, of course, on the east side of town. The idea is to build a natural playscape there. So that is moving forward. As are a couple of business opportunities with the Emergency Catalyst program from the state. If you'll recall, we've got $500,000 that is in play for the downtown business is $100,000 per address. So that's moving forward, as is the support from the Iowa Rural Development Council's Rural Business Initiative. We were just with them yesterday. I found out we'll be getting a little bit more money to support that. Those funds go directly to the businesses. So one business, for instance, we're going to be able to get them a forklift. One may be helping with a van to help them expand their offerings. Another one needs some support on design services to build back. So full range of opportunities that we're able to meet with that support. That funding actually comes from the Wells Fargo Foundation. So another great partnership there. Getting into the more federal side, or federal in general. Economic Development Administration, we are continuing to work through that project with the water distribution system improvements, a new well, as well as water meters. About $1.55 million, continuing to work through that process. Everything is in front of EDA. We're just waiting for their review committee to meet. We're in regular contact with our individual representative there. They are waiting from Washington, D.C. as to when they can meet. So we're ready to go, just in a little bit of a holding pattern there. FEMA, continuing to work through what is actually true replacement there, what's changing based on codes and standards since some of that old equipment went in. And then there's also a category for mitigation. So what can we maybe upgrade a little bit to make sure that we're in a better position if another natural disaster hits? So can get up to 85% of those costs covered between the feds and the state level. So a really great deal for the city itself.
So Beth, what's Minden thinking on their 15%?
To be determined as to what that looks like, if they'll use it out of their general fund, if they'll issue bonds for that. I know I was at their council meeting a month or so ago. They're in pretty good shape for their budget right now. Obviously, they're going to have a lot of impacts coming. We know that tax revenue is going to be down, given valuations are going to be down. So we're in process of figuring out what that looks like. We've actually had a couple conversations with potential financial advisors for this city. They've not previously worked with any firms. So we have a couple that we're working through that process and what that looks like right now.
So what's that number, that FEMA, the total number of FEMA?
We're still trying to nail down what that exactly is.
Is it under 5 million?
The last number that I heard was under 5.
Okay.
And that was probably 6 to 8 weeks ago that I heard that number.
And so I didn't mention Eagle Engineering. So Eagle Engineering has been the city's engineer, so we're able to supplement with our work. Always remind people, I'm a planner, I'm not an engineer, but Matt and our other engineers have been able to come alongside Eagle Engineering. CJ Gross, who was here with me a couple months ago, led the development of this application for EDA. And so it's really just been able to bolster the work that Eagle is doing from a day-to-day basis, and then bring in some of our other team members just to supplement that.
And some of it mitigation work.
There's some mitigation work, and so there's a whole bunch of different things that are included in this, sat through a meeting with FEMA, probably 3 months ago, 4 months ago.
You have the same person or is it the person changed?
We have the same person, at least the last conversation that I was involved with. The only one we've had a change at, from a direct contact is with Economic Development Administration. And that's an individual out of South Dakota. They were both out of South Dakota, actually. But we've been working with their new contact for a few months now, and she's been fabulous to work with.
Thank you.
USDA Rural Development, we're looking at what is that funding gap between what is the cost of the water treatment plant, what is insurance going to cover, and then what is FEMA going to cover. So a little bit of a holding pattern there as well. That's the unfortunate thing with disaster recovery. It's sort of the hurry up and wait game. Sometimes we've got to get things go, get it ready, but then you have to let those other processes unfold a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How much is the new water treatment plant?
Oh, I don't have that detail with me. Let me get that. I'll send you the number.
Okay, that'd be fine. And you got it covered. This FEMA wants you to build back right where they were. And that's the new building on the northeast corner, right?
On the east side of town is where we're
Right.
building.
Right. Okay.
Yep, so everything is moving forward with that plan. The devil's in the details, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
Lost my voice, so I'm gonna speak through her.
okay.
The EDA would cover new expansion.
Yeah. Yeah, EDA will cover new expansions, because, of course, as their name implies, economic development is their focus, whereas FEMA just is typically more focused on rebuilding. There is a process to enhance, but it's a little bit easier through the EDA side. So we've been trying to work through that with Eagle Engineering as well, as far as sort of the path of least resistance to get the infrastructure in place.
I got another question. Rural Water just put a new line from Council Bluffs clear out to Minden. Is that, and I see you want to put a new well in there.
There were plans for that new well before.
Right.
So, and that's been more of a Jake with Eagle Engineering on that side of things. So I'll confirm with him and where Regional Water is playing it. I know that previously, the city had conversations with Regional Water, but it just didn't make sense financially. So let me follow up on that.
Okay. Because that water line is hooked up. They're gonna charge it here shortly. Downtown, there's a couple buildings that are just, they're sitting there like the day the tornado moved through. Any movement on those?
So we have, a temporary development moratorium for downtown because we didn't want people just coming back building as they were. So we do have council currently considering adopting design guidelines. It's from Main Street, Iowa and Iowa Economic Development Authority. The key here is they are guidelines. So as development is happening, we want to keep these things in mind. We want it to really feel like it's welcoming, it's open for business, for pedestrians, people coming and going. On top of that, we are also exploring, or council is exploring some other regulations of property maintenance standards, parking regulations. They've also talked about, the trick is always enforcement. So those conversations are going on. Council just hasn't landed anywhere definitive quite yet. But that is on the radar.
Okay, thank you.
The last piece on funding, I think Matt and I have applied for some sort of grant for Minden. Seems like nearly every week this
Yeah.
year. So we've got a lot of requests out there. It just takes a little bit of time for those reviews to happen. But from state level, federal level, public, private, anything and everything that makes sense. We're really trying to be aggressive, just to help Minden get back on its feet and pushing forward, and coming out stronger than it was.
What you mentioned about the trail.
Yes, so one of those grants, is the Rural and Tribal Assistance Pilot Program from USDOT. This is really sort of the Goldilocks, if you will, of grants, in that there is no local match requirement. Most federal grants require a 20% local match. It's also on a first come, first serve basis, and a very easy application, but the idea, is to fill in the gap with the Great American Rail Trail. It's a reminder, 3,700 mile trail, Washington DC to Washington State. Few gaps in Iowa, including in Pottawatomie County, one of which, is right near where the community club was, between the community club and the Little League field. So as we're working on the community recreation hub concept, this opportunity came about. So we were able to submit for Minden as the lead applicant, along with Neola and Underwood. So with Pottawatomie County Trails Association as well. So we'll see. We just submitted that last week. So we've got our supplemental letters of support in. So really great collaboration there, and we're excited about the opportunity. We'll see. Our philosophy with all of these different funding opportunities has been, let's throw it out there and see what sticks. Anything to add on? Bert?
Great opportunity. I think we've seen the study of what it can bring from an economic standpoint to a county when you have a trail system going through there. Can't remember the exact numbers that you've done with your study, but many zeros. It's a great opportunity for rural communities.
34 million, right? Annually?
I'll leave that be.
It was
It's all over the board.
a big number.
One day it's this high and one day it's this low, so.
From the long-term plan, of course, what does Minden look like in 10, 20 years? And, we're really laying the framework for that right now. But this vision and the supporting goals came out of the community visioning session that we had at Minden Bowl back in November, and then we followed that with an online survey. So the vision is a welcoming community that embodies the best of small town living. And then the goals ensure housing choices that are attainable, nurture an environment that allows businesses to thrive, assure safety and accessibility as people move throughout the community, and lastly, provide the amenities and infrastructure for a welcoming and vibrant community. And I won't get into all of those details. I think one thing that was really interesting, almost everybody in the survey said something about walking, sidewalks, connectivity, and I think that's really indicative of the young nature of the community. People want to be out, they want to be connected, meeting their neighbors, having those opportunities. So that, of course, ties into community recreation hub and then rebuilding Kaler Park for those opportunities for those social connections. There was one particular response from the event at Minden Bowl, and the question was, what should Minden be known for? And they said, one bus stop with 15 kids. And it just sort of underscored how important that feeling of community is to residents in town. So working to maintain that as we can. I will say with the Community Recreation Hub, the master planning is wrapping up. Cost estimates are being developed. So we're keeping an eye on some other funding opportunities into 2026, as well as some opportunities that are coming later this year from DOT. But thinking along the lines of Destination Iowa, for instance, we know with the draw that the Community Recreation Hub can be, with the trail, with the Little League field, some of the other amenities that are being explored. We think that's a great opportunity, especially given the proximity to Nebraska, to Omaha, and pulling people in from out of state. So working to move that forward as well.
Is the recreation center going to be where the community center was before? Or you
Uh,
change the look?
Generally, yes, there are a couple of concepts. Is there an opportunity to potentially move it closer to Main Street and create a little bit more of that pedestrian environment? Is one of the other concepts. So I think probably a lot of it will depend on costs, quite frankly. But the concepts are looking really great. And I think just, obviously, as I always say, the tornado was horrible, but how can we make the best of a really awful situation? And I think the Community Recreation Hub is one of those instances where we have a big opportunity to do so.
They've got the one fourplex up and the other one just about ready to set, correct?
It's been a couple weeks since I've been to town, so you probably know better than I do.
Okay,
But we have been working with Jamie on some of the details on all of that.
that's gonna be
With Matt.
nice.
Setting the other fourplex today.
They are?
So I just on the phone with Jamie about the project, and so for your awareness coming before the board, in order for them to receive the state grant money from that, they need certificates of occupancies for those fourplexes. So we're looking at the ability to sign a 2080 agreement with the city of Mendon to be able to inspect and issue certificate of occupancies, just project specific for those fourplexes, so that way they can get their grant funds. And then I did forewarn them. I said it will be up to the Board of Supervisors on whether or not permit fees are waived for those projects. But I said that's something that they can speak with you all about. So in April,
Matt, is that Tim's Automotive, is it open now? Okay. He built a heck of a new shop.
So roughly, there was 700 people there before the tornado,
600.
closer to 7. According to the latest records,
Okay.
687, so
Huh.
I think says.
Okay.
So what do you think's there now?
I would hesitate to even guess. But I think that's one of the reasons we've been pushing so much to get things built back is we don't want to lose people the longer they're away from the community. The more our chances of getting them back to the community or keeping them there diminishes. So all of these housing opportunities, all of these different amenities, trying to show people that Minden is building back. I mean, we're almost a year out from the tornado. So yeah, I'm positive that number is down. With some of the initial review work that we did of other communities that have been struck by tornadoes, it takes a decade for a community to fully recover. And for rural communities, some never get back to what their population was. I think with Minden, though, again, the proximity to the metro area helps tremendously. You know, I know some of the people we've been working with through this process say, I can get to downtown Omaha to my job just as fast from Minden as I can from West Omaha, but they can get a whole lot more house in Minden. So, yeah, it's the long game.
The school district just changed from Division A to 1A. So there's growth in the population.
Is Minden still
What's that, Tracy?
financially viable? Paying their bills?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
Doing okay?
Yeah, they're doing okay. Yeah, and budget, I was at their meeting, it was late February, I was at the budget meeting and they felt pretty good so far. I think next year though, we'll probably see some challenges, just with revenues, with valuations being down.
Well, I know we put McClure in place to help the city staff with all of these funding options and all of the government regulations. And it's obvious to me that you're fulfilling those needs and helping the city move forward. So I appreciate your updates and I'm really glad we're on track. And there's a lot of balls in the air to juggle, and I think we've got the right people there to do that.
Well, we appreciate that, you know, it's long-term plan, as a city planner, you know, it often takes 10, 20, 30 years to see the fruits of your labor, but I think with Minden, you know, you're seeing those impacts immediately, so it's been incredibly rewarding for our team as well, and as I always say, the resiliency of the community has really gotten them where they're at this point, and will continue to serve them well in the future.
Kind of exciting to see all they've done so far. What's coming.
Yeah, there's more on the horizon as well, so, yeah.
A lot of new homes. A lot of repaired. This is good. A lot of new businesses too. I hate to say it, but they all needed those bigger, better things out there.
Yeah, again, making the best of a horrible situation. Actually, just yesterday, I got confirmation that there is another new entity moving to town. I don't know that I can share what that is yet, but it'll be moving to town. So that's been a process that we've been helping with. And another piece where the Rural Business Initiative from Iowa Rural Development Council is able to help with a little bit of an incentive to get them to town. So that's forthcoming. And then just a last thing I'll add, trying to tell the story of what Minden is doing with the Rural Summit happening in April. And then we also partnered with Western Iowa Development Association, helped them secure a grant from the Community Foundation for Western Iowa to tell the story of the businesses. So hopefully, if you're on social media, you've seen a few of those videos. There are 3 out that I've seen, one with Minden Bowl, one with Mayor Zimmerman, and then one with Shirley Kaler with Countryside Market. Shirley's is adorable, but between those 3 videos, I just looked yesterday, over 46,000 views. So the word is getting out about what's happening in Minden. I think the tagline they've been using is, "You can shake us, but you can't break us. We're Minden strong." So if you haven't seen those videos, would encourage you to go check those out.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, authorize the board chairman to sign a letter of support for Minden Meat Market.
Second.
So. Stop, anybody else have questions
Yeah,
about that?
if I can, Matt, when this disaster happened, help me out. I thought you mentioned that you were going to waive permit fees.
We did for rural residents, the area that we cover, rural businesses and residents, those permit fees were waived for disaster reconstruction.
Okay, are you handling the permitting process in Minden?
No,
So Teresa does that. She issues building permits, but they don't do any inspections. They've never done inspections. So that's where with this
So they-
state grant,
they
it's
need to-
required.
yeah, they
You
need
know,
a certificate of occupancy.
grants require some sort of assurance.
Matt, what was that?
So they need a certificate of occupancy for this grant requirement.
Okay.
And the only way that I know to issue a certificate of occupancy is if we conduct the inspections. We issue the permit, we conduct the inspections all the way through till final. Because when you're issuing that certificate of occupancy, I mean, that means all your life safety issues are handled. So, that's what I told them. I'm like, we could do that potentially with the 28E, the county and the city. And allow us to inspect those projects. And we're coming in late on this first one that's getting done, and the second one, but the third, fourth will be okay. And then we would work with the project engineer on the first 2 to make sure that they signed off on what they need to for us to sign off on the certificate of occupancy.
So what would that be, Matt? The permit fee?
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head because I don't know what the valuation of them are. I mean, it'll be big valuation of them and run through our calculation. I would imagine fourplex, it could potentially be, anywhere from a $3,000 to a $4,000 permit per structure.
Why don't you get those numbers back to us and then we can make a decision on how we want to handle it.
Yeah, that's what the plan on April 8th. I'll come to you guys with all the information and
Okay.
type of report.
And then we'll use that going forward. But they're gonna be building more stuff, I assume, right?
Yeah, if they needed it for grants, then we could definitely be there for it.
Doesn't the lender require a certificate of occupancy?
Most lenders do, for new construction, but and how they handle it in the small towns, I'm not exactly sure, but I know we get a lot of requests for that around closing on the rural properties, that they need that certificate of occupancy to close on the house.
Did we decide it was cheaper to go through you than an engineer afterwards in Crescent?
I would imagine that the permit fees are easier.
It was one thing, small towns become liable once they start inspecting. And that was a big deal. We had a couple lawyers in Crescent about that. And, it becomes a real liability for the small towns. So you're kind of in a catch-22. Damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So
So Matt, you'll bring that 28E also on April 8th?
Yes,
The city of Minden does their own inspections or they don't do any?
I don't imagine they do it.
Guideline.
what you do is when it comes in, the planning and zoning looks at setbacks and where your water and sewer are hooked up. And that's about it. And then the state does the electrical. That's about all they do. most of our little towns. Mitch, is your town got any inspections? No.
It's got 4 badges.
4 badges?
He's got the water badge, he's got the electric badge.
So everybody can say, we have to do it for everything in town.
Any other questions for Beth? Lure? Okay, thank you, Beth.
Thank
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
Yay.
Still need to vote on that letter of support.
Well, we wanted to finish that other item.
Yeah, okay.
Which we just finished. Yeah. First, forward letter of support from Shay. Susan.
Shake.
Then Miller was second. Okay, discussion on approval / deny and authorize board chair to sign the letter of support for the Minden Meat Market. Assume most of you have read it, so
Mhm.
got any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes.
Cool. See, Matt.
Thank you.
My company.
Are you guys taking this letter?
I'll take it. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Now I got 2 or 3,
How many 100,000 is that worth?
just one.
Okay,
It's a small one.
okay. Well, it's what, everything works.
That's right. Thank
See you guys. Bye, Matt.
Okay, Jeff? Nothing but the best. Jeff Lorenz, cost recovery services, update on the cost recovery service due and why they do it. So there's a lot of new board members that have not.
Yeah, there's 3 copies of the cost plan.
Okay,
I don't have 5 and I apologize.
no, that's fine. Here, I'm gonna give them out. I've got ones I went through already.
Oh, okay.
I went through already, so you can kind of, I don't know, give us
Yeah.
a highlight of it.
Cost Advisory Services, it's the name of the company.
Hey, you wanna jump up here, Jeff?
Do you want me up there?
Yeah, when I mean, the fan.
We got a fan that blows up here and it's
Hard to hear.
loud.
You want me to be louder?
You
Yeah.
can sit, you can sit. There you go.
All right. Cost Advisory Services, the name of the company, incorporated in the state of Iowa, work solely in the state of Iowa. We work for county governments. We do some city indirect cost allocation plans. I also do one state agency at this point, and we're doing some community colleges indirect cost rate proposals. That happens about every 4 years with them. Currently, we're working for 92 counties in the state. My background is I started in the state auditor's office a long time ago, back in 1990. I spent 9.5 years with the state. 4.5 was with the auditors, 5 was with Department of Education. And then I jumped out and started with a company called Maximus. Worked for them for about 4 or 5 years. And then the guy that hired me into Maximus, him and I started our own company called Cost Advisory Services. At that point, this was around 2004, 2005, we cut fees for our county clients that we did this exact same thing for by 33%. Our guarantee at that point was over a period of 15 years, you wouldn't be paying more than 85% of what you were paying at that time. We're now 20 years down the road. You're still not paying what you were paying that other company that we worked for and broke off from to do it. We're a small company, so we don't have the overhead. That's why we were able to cut the fees and do what we did. That's my background. What you're more interested in is what's a cost allocation plan. So essential service cost allocation plan is basically we're trying to find all the general fund monies that the county expends. And then we're putting that into a cost allocation plan and allocating those general fund costs over all the departments. So what's a general fund cost or an indirect cost or a admin cost? It's kind of all used interchangeably. The best example I can give is the county auditor's office. They do the payroll for every county in the department. They also do the accounting for every department in the county. And so we know there's a cost to that. You know there's a cost to that because people in the county auditor's office are paid every 2 weeks. So there's an actual cost to that. And what we're doing is we're allocating those costs across all the departments. For example, the accounting costs we allocate based on the number of accounting transactions that are processed through the accounting system for each department. We do that count. we allocate the payroll costs on a different basis. That would be average employees. So what we do is we take all the paychecks that were issued for each department. We take out the ones that were less than 100, they're kind of part-time, and we come up with an average employee count. And then we allocate those costs from the county auditor's office that we put into a pool for payroll, and we allocate that across all the departments. You end up doing that for insurance costs, general liability, property insurance, those insurances that are not charged directly to a department. Some departments are charged directly for some of those insurance costs, like secondary roads, because they take up a big piece. You have made that decision to put that against the Fund 20 secondary roads. Maybe some assessor funds or two or something like that, where there's some other different funding sources. And so we allocate all those costs for those that aren't charged. And then we come up with a dollar amount of total indirect costs that are sitting out there. Basically, that is going to be what we call on Exhibit A. And I know you don't all this have it in front of you. But basically, we have building depreciation costs, equipment depreciation costs. We have what we call other policy and admin costs. That's the audit fee. That's our cost plan fee. There's insurance costs. You have a human resources department. You have buildings and grounds that maintain the buildings and pay for all of the operations of it. Then you have that information technology department, the IT, there's big costs there. You all know that. County auditor, county attorney is one of the big ones we look at. And we look at that for one specific department, which is kind of what the impetus is for the whole cost plan, is you're recovering local Department of Health and Human Service costs that are expended on behalf of that office back to the general fund. The reason being is because that local DHHS office is basically supported by federal funds. Even though it comes from the state, it's federal funds. And so I always call that office, it's employed by the state, supported by the county. And so years ago, when they set up the whole welfare system in the state of Iowa, they basically came out and said, every county, you have to have a local DHHS office. And years ago, there were 99 local DHHS offices, DHS offices at the time, but now it's Health and Human Services. And though they were basically fully operating full-time offices, now that everything's kind of been regionalized, there still is an office in each county. It may not be maintained, but maybe 2 or 3 hours a week or something like that. So there's still support. But the other piece is that county attorney is supporting that local DHS office employees and what we call China cases, children in need of assistance is what the acronym China. And that's basically foster care, parental terminations, adoption, those types of things. Anything that's helping support that local DHHS office. Really hard for me to say that after all the years I said DHS.
Now it's HHS.
Yes, and I probably should just say HHS, but then I think it's always going to confuse the federal department. So anyways, but that county attorney puts out effort towards all those what we call non-juvenile China effort type things. And no secret, county attorneys are some of the highest paid employees in the state. So we basically ask what their effort is in support of that. And since the state mandates that the county attorney has to do that and that you have to have that local office, they are going to reimburse you for indirect costs. So that's the indirect cost piece, right? Is the county attorney and all these other costs that are associated with that office. The state gets reimbursed by the feds on what they call the federal financial participation rate. That's calculated quarterly by the HHS central office. Thank you, that rolled off a lot easier. And so then whatever that federal financial participation rate is, FFP rate, they reimburse that back to the county for any of the costs that are put on a local administrative expense report. That report is submitted quarterly from the county local office to the state central office. They put on there the direct costs of that office, which is basically in the accounting statements or in the accounting system that work charges Department 25, activity or function 3100. And there are some direct costs on there that they're paying directly. That could be paper, that could be maybe some computers or different things that are all these line items that you have in that budget set out there. Then on that report, we're also putting in the indirect costs. And that comes right off of this cost report, indirect cost report here. And if you were to go to Schedule B, that dollar amount in fiscal year 2024 was $579,000 of general fund money that was expended by the county on behalf of that local office. And so that comes back to the county on that HHS report. 2 years later, because there's a skip year feature and indirect costs. So 24 is used to cover during 26, 25 during 27. That FFP rate, we estimate is running around 33%. So that ends up being basically about $190,000 that's coming back to the county for this cost plan that we do. That's one small piece, that's the one big piece of what this cost plan does. A couple of years ago, you all created I know you changed the name, but it used to be called Mount Crescent Ski Hill. I don't, you changed the name recently, I think. I just saw it and I can't remember what it was. I looked it up. What's that?
The hill at Hitchcock.
The Hill at Hitchcock, that's right. And that's an enterprise fund, right? So it's set up to be self-supporting. It's whatever, you go and buy a lift ticket or rent your skis there, it's its own business, right? It's an enterprise fund. And so in this, in FY 24, there's $146,630 that's allocated of indirect costs over the top of that. So those costs would be in addition to what their actual operating costs are that the county is bearing on behalf of that. So basically, it's what the county is using to support that. Now, theoretically, you could go to the Crescent or to the Hitchcock, ski at Hitchcock, and you could say, hey, you owe us $146,000 because you're supposed to be self-supporting. Now, as supervisors, you may say, you know what? We're not going to collect that $146,000. We only want $50,000 of it or $100,000 of it or whatever, right? I mean, you can decide. You may not want any of it because you may decide that it's really important for our constituents to get out and exercise and ski down a hill and tube down a hill. So that might be part of, your helping to support, some of those local activities, general fund costs, right? But that's the type of things that this cost plan can be used for. That's a quick, maybe 2-cent version of what we do. We work closely with the county auditor's office. We get all of our information from Becky, basically. We do get information from the IT office and y'all have a new building, public health building where the armory used to be. I've been doing this for 20 years for the county. So I've seen the armory building. I saw it go down and then I saw this building get completely changed. It's beautiful, by the way. And so that building just came online in fiscal year 25, so it's not accounted for in the plan, but next year, rest assured, it will be in there and I will have to go through that building and get square footage because we allocate building costs based on occupancy, how much they occupy. That's in essence what we do in a nutshell, open for questions.
What do you charge?
So our fee to the county this year was $8,220. And you're getting back $191,000 for that 8,200 that you're spent. Pretty good return.
What, so who actually, is the feds actually send us a check or
The state.
Through the
The
feds?
state sends the money back. Yeah, it's federal funds, but it comes through the state, right? I mean, the state gets all
Which
that.
department is it the Office of Business Management that comes through or the Department of Revenue from the state?
From the state, it comes from Health and Human Services.
Oh, it does,
Yeah,
HHS?
it comes right from HHS.
Okay.
So you currently have a contract with the county, is that what?
We do. We have a 3-year contract.
3 years, where are we at in a 3
We
year?
just finished the second year, I think. I think we have 24, 25 and 20, or maybe it's 23, 24, 25. So yeah, that was the last contract was fiscal year 23, fiscal year 24, fiscal year 25. It always looks like we're a year behind. But the whole theory behind that is that once your year ends on June 30th, we have a year to do that cost plan to implement it 2 years down the road. And there's a carry forward computation that goes into that, which is nothing more than a reconciliation. 1 year's indirect costs are used for an estimate 2 years down the road. We get done 2 years down the road. We know what those actual indirect costs were. We compare the difference. We add that to that year's indirect costs and carry that forward for 2 years down the road. So there's always a reconciliation going on.
Jeff?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that 191,000 this year.
Mhm.
Is there anything in here that shows a history of the money coming back to the county?
I don't have that history. I mean, that check comes into the auditor/treasurer's office. You can go back and look at all the checks that are coming in for that. I could probably put some back together for it. That FFP rate changes every quarter. When I started doing this 20 years ago, that FFP rate was somewhere around 46, 47. I've seen it as high as like 52% years ago. But about 12 or 13 years ago, the state changed something that they did in that. I don't pretend to know what they do. I don't really want to know what they do because I don't want any conflict of interest that, says, hey. But there was something that they did a number of years ago and they took some pieces out of that calculation. And in essence, you don't like to hear this, but it's part of the state balancing their budget on the backs of local governments. That happened 12, 13 years ago. And so that rate dropped and we dropped our estimate to 33%. Last quarter, I believe that rate was 35, pushing 35%.
You can give us a report for, of 191 for this year. You could look at your report from last year and tell us what it was too, can't you?
Yeah, I got last year's and
Yeah,
I got the last 3 years.
And basically, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take that number off Exhibit B and you gotta multiply it by 33%. That's gonna be the letter that every year I send you all a letter. It goes to the auditor's office. I'm assuming they distribute it to you. I mean, I'm hoping they distribute it to you all because it says Board of Supervisors, so I'm assuming they do. And in that letter, it'll basically say, like this year, it said there's $579,000 that we found for indirect costs, and of that 33%, you're gonna get back. It'll say right in that letter exactly what that is.
Okay.
Um,
One last question
Yeah.
from me. Briefly, you mentioned the, ski hills.
uh-huh.
Could you say that again for me?
It's enterprise fund. He
Yeah.
wants to understand the enterprise fund.
So there's $146,630 of indirect costs in FY '24 that help support that ski hill. So if we were to go back here and I look at Exhibit A, I can go across this 146,000. 99,000 of that was insurance that you're not charging. 24,000 of that, almost 25,000 of that was auditor's office cost to do payroll and accounting for that department.
Okay.
So that's a big piece of that. And I don't know, I mean, as far as I know, I mean, what I was told is they're not being charged some of their insurance premiums that the county's covering that. So
Not
that's why
yet.
that's a big piece of that.
That's
Now-
$100,000 roughly.
Yeah, so what's interesting is, not a lot of counties have enterprise funds, but some of the bigger ones do. You all do. Polk County has enterprise funds. There's a golf course on the northwest side of Polk County, if you're all familiar with that, Jester Park. And I live in Des Moines and I like to golf out there. And when I would do their cost plan, I'm like, oh, I gotta allocate costs to the enterprise fund, the golf course out there. So every dollar I allocate, that's gonna raise my green fees, right? But that's it. It is what it is. So that's what I'm saying. But again, the supervisors can say, you know what, we're gonna subsidize that because we think it's important for them to do that. Or you can go back and say, hey,
Where, Mitch, you know where those funds are deposited? The general fund, I would have known.
For the HHS,
Well, yeah,
they're, you go back in there because they're costs against the general costs, right?
well, I assume so. We don't, I mean, we monitor the recoveries from the state side. I don't go and look at where it comes into the county. I know that the state sends a check to the county and what you all do with from that, I don't know. Most of the time it comes into, it's written to the county treasurer and it's deposited into the general fund.
Yeah, and they might even allocate it out between wages portion of it to benefits portion of it for whatever the indirect costs.
Well, Heather should have that.
Yeah, we can dive into where it all goes.
Heather. Don't trust her.
the, recall was revenues being budgeted, did the budgets and revenues?
Yeah, they're just in there every year.
I don't have any questions.
Anybody else got anything for Jeff?
It's really exciting stuff. When you're a nerd like me. And I will say one of my worst subjects when I was in college was cost accounting, and that's what I do on a daily
God.
basis.
Cost accounting.
Some things you might like, not like to do in college, but it ends up being your life.
No,
Sorry,
don't take cost accounting.
But in any case, it's fun. And now I think I'm gonna go have a meeting because there's also some WIC costs in here that are
Yeah.
associated. I think there's about $76,000 in WIC indirect costs that they've been using. And I don't know, that's what I'm gonna go learn right now, how that comes back to the county, if it comes back to the county, because that's a different funding source. And again, if there's a different funding
Right.
source out there, this is a good management tool to try to get some of those to offset your general fund.
Feds are slow pay, but not no pay.
Correct. So,
So go find the cost plus some interest on it.
Yeah, I don't think they'll pay interest on it, but it would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, no, appreciate you coming in and, you know, if we got further questions, we'll get them to you and.
Yeah,
we can Circle back.
You all know how to get a hold of me.
Yeah, you know,
All right,
okay.
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Take your, roll up in your head, moment. A lot of study in there.
Yeah. Okay. Matt White, Director, Planning and Development, discussion and or decision to approve the final plat of Freedom Hills, a subdivision created in Crescent Township to sign planning and zoning resolution number 2025.01.
Thank you. So this is a subdivision request that is just south of the city of Crescent, located along Old Lincoln Highway. That's a 3-lot minor subdivision. It's really creating one more buildable lot. The lot to the north is getting attached to the property north of that property, so that's an addition of one more buildable lot for Pine County.
I get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, any other discussion, Matt?
I don't have anything else. Good.
Matt, is there a home on one of these already?
There is, it would be located on what is lot 2 of that subdivision plat.
Lot, lot one will get access off the highway.
Lot 1 is being attached to the property to the north.
Over the hill.
It is being attached to the property to the north of it. That property owner already has access off of the highway to his property.
And then lot three will get their access just to the south of lot two.
Lot 3 is sharing the access with lot 2.
It's got a cut in the hill, Tim.
Okay. I don't have anything else. Thanks, Matt.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Chairman Belt,
Aye.
Supervisor Miller,
Hi.
Supervisor Jorgensen,
Aye.
Supervisor Wickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Shea.
Aye.
Okay, moving right along. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Jana Limerick, Director, Human Resource, Gina Hatcher, Payroll Benefits Specialist, Auditor's Office, discussion or decision on employee percentage of met life dental increase and Wellmark medical insurance premium rates.
To continue our discussion on our health insurance, and these were pieces that we want to have finalized so that we can make our open enrollment packets and begin all of that, is for dental, when we're talking about the percentage that the employee pays and the percentage that the county pays. In years past, when the dental premium has gone up, we have not increased the employee's percentage. They have paid $14.16 for longer than 6 years. And so I just thought it was time that we have a conversation about it and get some direction from the board as far as, would you like that to remain $14.16? Or do you want that to change?
Oh, what's the cost?
Well, for a family plan, it costs you, well, July 1st, it's gonna cost $89.38. A single plan is $27.20, and the county pays 100% of the single plan for employees. So we would just be looking at the family plan. What percentage do you want employees to pay for the family plan, or would you like to leave it at the $14.16?
How did it? Oh, how did we get it with 14.16? Did we do some kind of? Or did this thing grow? How fast did this grow to 89? 30? Was there a percentage that it was going up? To stay with it, or how?
Well,
Those are some weird numbers.
yeah.
3 years, we were locked in.
For dental,
For dental, we were locked into that, the rates for
When was
I
that?
think it was like 3 years and then now just here the last 2 years, it's increased.
Really,
I could go back and get those.
the only history I have is since I've been here for 6 years, and it's been $14.16 for longer than 6 years.
How
So
much
Employee.
has it increased since?
I'd have to go back and
Yeah.
look year over year.
But it really was 89. When did it start being 89.30?
That's what you voted on a couple weeks ago when Jim was here. 89.38 will be July 1st.
That's our new rate.
That's your new rate, correct?
What was our rate prior to that?
Oh,
then?
83.53.
Okay, so
So-
we should have been incrementally doing that. You know,
I mean, we do with the health insurance, right? Employees pay
Right, but
11%,
I don't-
and we haven't ever done anything like that with dental.
and, oh, it got that far out of whack.
What is it right now, Janet? You said 14.
For
16.
employees pay $14.16 for a family dental plan.
How many employees we're talking?
That's a monthly rate, right?
That's a monthly rate, that's correct. Well, technically 100% of our employees are on the dental plan because we provide them a single plan, and then if they choose a family plan. So, I know Jim, let's see. When Jim was here, was that 2 weeks ago? It looks like we have 129 people with a single plan and 345 employees with a family plan. We use our dental, and that's what Jim was saying.
It's not
couple weeks
insignificant.
ago. Correct, yeah. I don't think it's insignificant.
What's on the agenda? That, I don't have any issues raising it to 15. Jen, I do have a question for you.
Raising
though.
it to what? What'd you say?
15.
15?
So the increase is $5.85 from what we're currently paying.
Looks like it, yes.
Janet,
Yes.
help me out with this. We have to provide dental for all employees, right? Just to keep the numbers where they need to be. Is that right?
So part of, right, the census file that we provide over to dental carriers, they like us to have a decent number of employees that have the dental plan. So in our summary plan document, it does say we have to have at least 60% of our employees on the dental plan, otherwise they will increase our rates. But conversations with our team at FNIC, Jen and I wanted to clarify this, is that underwriting requirement from the carrier, if the employer pays 100% of the premium, which is the single plan, then the carrier requires everyone to be covered.
I knew there was something.
Eligible, right? You obviously have to work the average of 30 hours. Yeah, eligible.
If we charge the employees on the single plan $1, then what happens?
Yeah, then then we would have to see how many employees still keep the plan, if we're gonna charge them versus them getting it for free. And then if you charge them something for the plan, you don't have to provide it to 100% of the employees. So we'd have to see what our numbers would do and then what would happen with our rates.
So if the numbers go down, the costs go up.
Very likely, because we use our dental plan as well, so our claims are also up there.
Well, on the dental side can be, and a lot of times is the first person that can bring forward some potential medical problems a person may be having.
It is still very important for your health, yeah.
I mean, they can tell a lot of things at that level to hopefully minimize the rest of your health and such. But, if they're getting it for $27 for free,
11% of that.
I don't know. I guess I'd like to take it to $20.
For the single plan,
No, for the,
family plan?
if the single plan's getting charged nothing, right?
Correct. The single plan is charged nothing. So if you look at today's rate, the $14.16 that employees pay for a family plan is 16.95% of that family plan. So with our increase, if you wanted to keep it at 16.95%, that would be, almost $1, $15.14 is what it would cost employees.
Yeah, but we didn't stay with it from the past.
You're right, we have
We're
not.
behind.
Yeah.
I mean, if we don't,
But I don't know that we've ever had a set percentage. Would you agree with that, Jenna? So we've never, like, to go back and recalculate it, we've never had a set percentage that
Could've.
matches.
could be 50% every time it changed.
Well, sure, but the percentage that they pay would always go lower. Each year would go lower. As our price goes higher, they're still paying 14, 16, so we're going like this.
Not if you were been raising the 14, 16 every year.
Right, but we didn't. Yeah.
I understand that. What-
Yes, Jeff?
Okay, so you said
We
it
got
was
a couple
83 to
side
80
conversations
something,
going.
86 something?
It went from 83.53 to 89.38.
Okay, I would certainly like to recover the increased cost in some fashion. That's big. Hold on.
Yeah, that's a $5.85 difference.
I appreciated the email you sent out with those comparisons.
You're welcome.
Very helpful.
You're welcome.
So here's a thought. So the single coverage is going up from 27.20 from 24.42 for a difference of $1.78. What if we increase the employee contribution of 14.16 by that $1.78, bringing it up to 15.94?
On the single plan?
But while I follow
Right.
your math, Susan, you're adding the increase in the single plan to the family plan. And the increase in the family plan was $5.85.
Right.
If you take 11% of that, if you just figure 11, it's about 65 cents. You add 65 to the 14.16, puts you at 14.81. I would, I'd make a motion, we, increase the employee contribution on our dental to $15 a month. Or leave it the same. I mean, I figured it. If we moved it to $15, it's about another $5,000 a year to the county. So it's not like it's breaking the bank or anything.
There isn't anything that's gone down. It's all gone up,
So
and you're proposing $15 instead of the 14.15 or 16.
Yep.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
None of these increases cover the actual cost of the increase. That's where I'm at. I mean, I would like to at least, and again, this is me, at least to cover the increase. It's not necessarily otherwise, whatever. Insurance, but Tim, I go along with you. Whatever.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I'm opposed.
what do you want it to be, Scott?
So we oppose over.
Well, you could,
I said, so that's fine. Discussion and or decision on compensation, condemnation commission.
Wait a minute.
We still have the Wellmark one.
One more.
Yep, and so the Wellmark is the medical. And so when Jim was here 2 weeks ago and
Okay.
discussed with the, yep, with the group that the insurance was going up by 0.27%. And that was because of, IGHCP's, fees. That I just wanted to confirm with the board that you still want the employees to pay 11%. So theirs will increase by 11% of the 0.27%, which I think is 54 cents for a single plan and 55 cents for a family plan. Or would the board like the county to cover that cost?
Well, what we have done since I've been on, employees covered 11% of our total insurance costs. That's where I'd like us to be, at least for this budget year. Next year, if our insurance rates go up tremendously, which we're kind of anticipating, then we'll take a look at the employee percentage contribution.
Okay.
So
Is that your motion?
yes.
I'll second.
Okay, so this was all in one motion. It should have been two separate motions.
Right.
So this motion is to, keep the Wellmark medical insurance premium at the current rate of 11%
For all employees.
for all employees, correct?
That's it.
Okay, and your Tim's motion and Brian's second. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, discussion and or decision on compensation
Thank you.
condemnation commission. There is to discuss other than.
I think we got them all
We
filled.
got them all filled.
Well,
Get yours built, Scott?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
we've got Kirk
You get yours
Henningsen
filled?
on it, 2 roles.
I would say you guys need to get a starter for that.
I don't know. Kurt Henderson,
We have him on as a realtor and as an ag
I
landowner.
thought she took him off as a realtor.
Do we have 7 without him?
Well,
I
gave her
speak to,
John. I gave her John's name and stuff.
okay, so we still need to update that. All right.
She should have updated it. I did that last, week,
Who's John?
John Wood.
Okay.
Your phone number, address and everything.
Okay, so everybody in their packet, they see the yellow line at the bottom under Realtor. That will be John Wooten instead,
Okay.
correct?
Who'd you get, Brian?
I assume it's all over.
And Sharon,
She just didn't put the right one out there.
I know, I just want to clarify that so that we can act on this today and move forward.
Yeah. I agree.
Everybody's good?
I'm good.
I'll make a motion to approve the compensation condemnation commission listing for 2025.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Would that be as amended?
Yes.
Whatever's correct. Find the correct one. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, committee appointments, Jeffrey.
I have Susan.
Okay, Brian.
Went to the assessors meeting last week. The WIDA, Pot County Tourism. Did some Zoom meetings and then done Advanced Southwest Iowa and then went to the legislative coffee.
Tim? Susan?
We have WIDA, Golden Hills, and Advanced Southwest Iowa.
I had the assessor and then the coffee Saturday and, I guess that's probably it. So,
Just real quick, I was at the coffee Saturday. I was impressed with how well our state legislators get. Not
okay,
necessarily the audience, but
okay. Now is the time for public comment. We will now discontinue the live broadcast
Anybody?
from the advice of, want me to finish this?
Oh, is that, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.